Hi everyone! I hope everybody's having a great day. Today we're going to be making a card, and what I did was, because I wanted to use a little bit of vellum, I wanted to do a window, and I wanted a scallop square but just pushed off a little bit over to the side because I wanted to do some effect on the actual cardstock. So this is an 11 by 4 1/4 inch piece of cardstock. So it's my regular card base, and what I did was I went on Design Studio and I positioned a scallop circle exactly where I wanted it to be, and then I just put it in, and then I just cut out the little scallop square, and then I did a little frame also on Design Studio to kind of just go around the actual window. So what I'm going to do is I did a little mini Design Studio tutorial, and I'm going to put it at the end of the video for those of you who want to watch it, but I'm going to continue on with the card for those of you who already obviously know how to use Design Studio, who have a gypsy and things like that. So there we go. That's our card base, our little window. I have my little piece of vellum, and then I have 3 little strips because you guys know I adore to layer border punches and things like that. So I have my 3 little layers that I'm going to do at the bottom. But before I do that, I want to go ahead and fold my cardstock, and I'm going to be doing a little bit of embossing for a background. So I'm going to go ahead and score it at I'm going to go ahead and score it at 5.5. And there we go. So you see our little window's up at the top, and it's a little bit off to the side. So my next step is I've used this stamp set quite a bit. It's by Inkadinkado. It's called Sketchy Flourishes, but it makes for a really pretty background. So I want to go ahead and use it again. Oops, I think I moved the camera. Okay. And I'm just going to use 2 of the flourishes. Maybe I'll use 3, and I'm just going to go ahead and position them. And I'm using my Versamark, and I have 3 different ones. I have the Frost and the Champagne, which have glitter, and then I have the regular one. But I like to use, when I'm going to do clear embossing, I like to use the ones with the shimmer because it comes through so it looks a little sparkly. So I'm going to go ahead and put my little flourish, and I'm just going to do it in different places on the card. Okay, so I went ahead and I did my stamping, and the bottom I left it bare because I'm going to do my my border punches and things like that. So now I'm just going to grab my clear embossing powder, and I'm just going to go ahead and layer it and just let it kind of fall everywhere. And then I'm going to go ahead and tap it off. And then what we're going to do once we've got our powder on there is we're going to go ahead and use our heat gun. Okay, so we've got our swirls embossed, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my strips of paper, and I'm going to go ahead and do my scallop border punch. And then before I go ahead and adhere this down, I want to go ahead and attach my vellum to my frame, and that's just so I can give it a little bit of dry time. And I am going to use my Scotch Quick Dry. Here we go. And I'm just going to very lightly, because you don't want it to smear, just do a little border around the frame. There we go. And I'm just going to get my tweezers, make sure I position it. And the reason that I'm adhering it down to the actual frame is so that, because if I do it from the back of the card, you're going to be able to see it when they open the card. So I wanted it to be as hidden as possible. So this way I can just adhere the frame right onto the card, and you won't be able to see the vellum. Only, like, see, we're going to put it right here, and you won't be able, all you'll see is the little cutout, but you won't see the actual piece of vellum cut out there. So there we go. So I'm just going to go ahead and put this off to the side so it can dry, and then we'll go ahead and stamp our sentiment on there. I'm going to get my ATG gun, and we're going to go ahead and adhere our pattern paper down, or our little strips down, and I'm just kind of seeing where I want them to go. I'm thinking I want to start as close to the bottom as possible. I would have actually liked the bottom to be fully scalloped. I think because if I cut it, you know what, that'll be fine because I'm going to run the ribbon around it. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and trim off a piece of the bottom of the card. And it's just because I want the bottom of the card to actually be scalloped. So I'm going to run my adhesive right here. And I'm going to position this so that when you close it, it's still 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So I'm lining it up with the back of the card. Actually, let me do it this way. There we go. And then I'm just going to close the card and it'll pick up, and that way it'll still be, yeah, much better, 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So I'm going to trim off the sides here of the excess. And I'm still going to layer my other pieces on here. So I'm going to get my ATG, and I think I'm going to do the next solid one first and then the pattern paper on top. So I'm going to get my green. So I've gone ahead and adhered my pattern paper down, and I'm going to go ahead and wrap my ribbon just so that everything else can be positioned correctly. Okay, so we're going to, like I always say, the key to tying ribbons is to make sure that everything is in place. So I'm just going to run my ATG through the front of the card, and that's what helps me keep everything together and where it should be. Okay, so I went ahead and did my ribbon. And our last step is to go ahead and stamp our sentiment and then adhere our little frame down. And then I'll put my little butterflies around because, you know, I have to have butterflies, and I'm in love with my new punch. So I'm just trying to position this exactly how it's supposed to be. And what I'm going to do is I'm first going to go ahead and stamp my sentiment. And it just says sending you happy everything. And then when using vellum, this is what I've heard, and I used to hate using vellum because I could never figure out how to use it right or with what inks and things like that. And it seems that, from what I've heard from all my bloggy buddies, Stays On seems to be the best. So that's what I'm using today. I'm using some brown Stays On ink. And I'm just trying to position everything, make sure that it's perfect. So I'm going to put it a little bit towards me, even if it's out of frame. And I'm just going to go ahead and stamp. And be very careful. Stays On and vellum are very slippery. But that actually turned out really, really cute. Can you guys see that? I hope so. Not like you guys can answer me. So, I've gotten used to that Ustream thing where you guys say, yes, yes, no, no, no. You guys are all answering me. So, okay. So that's our little window using the vellum, and I just think it's a cute little touch. I'm going to go ahead and adhere it again using the Scotch Quick Dry, and I'm just going to I'm going to put the glue directly onto the card and just as close to the little circle, or I'm sorry, the little square as possible. Okay, so trial and error. The zip dry worked to adhere the vellum onto the frame, but it's not working to adhere everything down to the actual card. And I want to say that it's because of the embossing that we did. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some zip dry, and I'm going to see if that works. And that's the winner. It's zip dry. So that one actually adhered it down perfectly. So far we're almost done. So we've got our little window, and it doesn't look as unfinished in the back because we did adhere the vellum onto the actual frame, and then we have the ribbon that kind of helps with the crease of the border punch against the card. So it doesn't look messy on the inside. And we're not quite done yet. I did want to add some of my new favorite butterflies. with the Martha Stewart butterfly punch. You know, just gonna get some scrap paper, which is the best, because that way you get to use some pretty paper. And I want to bring out that blue again, so I'm gonna do one butterfly in the blue of the paper, and I'm thinking we should do one in the pattern paper, just because. So that's pretty much it. I think I'm gonna do two butterflies. Okay, so I decided to do something a little different. I used two of the pattern papers that I use for the borders, and then I got some purple and the blue. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the patterns, and I'm going to layer them on top of these, and I'm going to fluff them up with I'm going to put the wings up and fluff them up a little bit, and that way you can see both contrasting up against the paper. I think it's going to look really pretty, but I'm going to try it out, and I'll show you guys what it looks like once it's done. Okay guys, it's like my favorite punch ever. I know I'm like such a drama queen, but I love it. It came out so cute. I don't know if you guys can see it, but you'll be able to see it in the picture. I double layered them, and that way it gives it a little bit more of a 3D dimension. I think it looks so cute. So that's it. It's a really simple card, actually. I know it took me quite a bit of time, but it's got a lot of little details, so I think that's why it takes so long. But I really, really like the way that it turned out. I think it turned out really cute, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Maybe you learned something new. So stay tuned for the next one. Ciao. Bye-bye. Okay, so for those of you who stuck around for the Design Studio little mini tutorial, I'm just going to kind of show you how I did the cutouts that I did today. So to do the actual window into the paper, I just got my regular 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch card, but while it was still open, so it was actually 11 by 4 1/4. I just clicked here. I'm using Storybook, by the way. This is actually cut out at 2 1/2. Hold on, let me switch it back to 2, because I cut it out at 2. Okay, so this is the original square, and I more or less laid my paper down exactly where I wanted it to be on the mat, and then I just kind of moved my square around exactly where I wanted it to cut. Now, I didn't want mine to be right in the center. I wanted it to be a little off center because I wanted to do something on that side. So I just kind of tapped it over, and I think this is actually exactly where I had it. So then I just put that there, and then I put my paper in. I loaded my mat so that I knew exactly where the square was going to cut, and then I had my little window. Now, to do the actual border that I put around it, I just went from 2 inches. I went up to 2 1/2. I got another one of the scallop squares, and I actually just layered it exactly where I wanted it to be, right on top of the other one. And then I just put my paper in and cut it exactly like this. So that way, when it cut out, it would do both scallops, and then you would end up with your perfect border around the actual window that you did. So it's super easy. I hope you guys learned something new, and stay tuned for the next one. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.